Welcome back, guys. I'm back. So did you have fun with part 1? So now we're doing part 2 because we still have 5 more problems to go. Now let's continue. Number 6 na tayo. So in this problem, we have 8a minus 16, and then we have a all divided by a plus 6 is equivalent to 800 over 4a squared minus 16a minus 48. This might be a bit of a tough problem in order for you to solve for the answer, but let's do this, okay? Pero the thing that you can do here is that you can apply cross multiplication. The only problem is kung mag-cross multiplication ka, I know naman we have lots of work to do and how to multiply these numbers. So this may take a lot of time in order for you to do that. So the best method for you to solve this situation is to apply a concept called factoring. Very good. Remember what I tell you about factoring? If you have numbers and then you have a great numbers, you can try factoring so that you can find out, so that you can simplify the number into its lowest terms. So that's what we're gonna do. If I factor out namin yung mga numbers. So let's factor out everything that we have. First off, let's try 8a plus minus 16. In this problem, yung 8a, ganito kasi yun. Excuse me for a while. So yan yung 8a. So we have 8 minus a all divided by 16 minus 16. We can factor this out by the GCF, which is 2. So therefore, this becomes 2 times a minus 8. Okay? 2 times a minus 8. Because 2 times a equals 8a. Right? No, 8 pala. We can still factor this out by ano yun? We can still factor this out by 8. So therefore, this one becomes a minus 2. And if we were to do this, 8 and a minus 2. Diba? That's the first one, which is the 8a minus 16. Now, what about the a plus 6? That's easy. We don't need to factor. It's just the simplest form we can do. So, you don't need to factor out. Next, what about the 4a squared plus 16a minus 48? That's when we need to use the factoring method. Okay, that's why we need to factor out this number. So, let's do this here. So, we have 4a squared plus 16a minus 48. If we were to factor this out, what is the factor? The factor is 4. The GCF is 4. So dividing both sides, everything by 4, we should get a squared. This becomes 4a minus 16 minus 12. Diba? So therefore, a squared plus 4a equals negative 12. Alright? Now, remember what did I tell you? Now we're stuck in quadratic equation such that a is equivalent to 1. So that's very easy. We put down two numbers that can be multiplied together that give you a squared and 12. Multiply to give you 12, negative 12, and add to give you 4a. I know that 6 and 2 are coherent because 6 times 2 give you 12, and at the same time, it adds up to 4 or subtracts to 4. So which should be the plentier? The plus, diba? So plus 6 and minus 2. Double check. A times a squared. 6 plus a, 6a. 2 times a, 2a. The foiling method. Okay? Remember, first, outer, inner, last. Right? Just like that. Then, combining like terms, we have a squared minus 4a minus 12. Correct. And that's exactly the one. So therefore, the factored form of writing this equation is this. You remember this our equation in long cut form. So this one becomes 8 times a minus 2. 8a minus 2. Okay? So yan. All divided by a plus 6, which is equivalent to 800 over, what's the bottom number? That can be written as, if I were to factor this out, 4 times a plus 6 and a plus 2. Diba? So that is the factored form. A plus 6 and a minus 2. Alright? Now we can find the LCD. Before that, if there's anything that we need to factor out, we can do that first. Let's say we can factor out 804. Because remember, para mailis yung 4 na yan, we can factor this out. And 800 divided by 4 equals 200. Diba? So now we can solve we can now solve for the answer in both situations. It's either we play the game called the LCJ or we just do cross multiplication. Actually, I would like to show you the cross multiplication method. So if I were to do cross multiplication, this is how it will go. So we have 8. So this is how it will go kung na-cross multiplication tayo. So di ba remember yung 8 plus 6 times 200. So 200, that was 8 plus 6. Okay? Is equivalent to 8, a minus 2, times a plus 6, and a minus 2. Take note, the a minus 2 can be squared up. So ganito kasi yun. So, and I think I know naman yung a plus 6, they can cancel because since the a plus 6 are identical, therefore you can divide both sides by a plus 6. Diba? You can also do that. Dividing both sides by those quantities, and you should be left out with, what's the answer? Let me write it here. And you should be left out with 200 equals 8a minus 2 squared. Now, you can do this in both situations. It's either you can apply the PEMDAS form already. Diba, remember, this one should come first, subtract first, and then square it, then multiply by 8. Now, let's work it out in the inverse operation. Doing this so, you have to subtract both sides by 8. So, therefore, doing that, 200 divided by 8, what's the answer? The answer is 25. 25, and then a minus 2 squared, and that is, ano yun? Remember, the 8's cancel here, and we're just left with a minus 2 squared. So you can simply take the square root of both sides. But take note, whenever you take the square root of both of these, you will have two answers. So therefore, a is equivalent to -5 or +5. So a minus 2 equals -5 or +5. Doing this so, you will get -3 here. Because -3 plus -2 is -5. On the other hand, if you have 7, you need to add -2 on both sides. So therefore, add 2 to both sides. So therefore, 7. So that is the answer. You can solve for the solution in both ways. That is through applying the LCD. You can apply the cross multiplication. But if you wish to do the LCD, remember we have this equation. 8 times a minus 2, all divided by what's the answer? 8 plus 6, diba? Is equivalent to 800 over yan. You can cross this out, making this 200. Then, if you were to get the LCD, we know the LCD is a plus 6 and a minus 2. So, applying the LCD, what do we get? We know here, if you were to multiply this by a minus 6, a plus 6, and a minus 2, this one cancels. And then, on the other hand, it still stays. So, therefore, we have 8, a minus 2, and then a minus 2 again. Is equivalent to 200. Yes, you will still end up with the same answer. But you can write that as a square of binomials to help you solve for the answer. If you were to bring this up together, like for example, you can divide both sides by 8, diba? So dividing both sides by 8, you have a minus 2 is equivalent to 25, right? And then you can also apply this formula. A squared, that makes the difference of two squares, 2a plus 4 equals 25. So therefore, we have a squared minus 4a plus 4 equals 25. Then you can shift it to the other side. Shift 25 to the other side, which gives you a squared minus 4a minus 25 equals 0. Then apply the quadratic equation. A and a. What two numbers that multiply together to give you not 25, because 4 minus 25 equals -21. 21. So we know that 7 and 3. 7 and 3 give you 21. And then, negative and positive to give you -4a. So tama, a can be positive 7 and a can be -3. Now to double check, here's the solution that I did. Ito yun. So as you can see, ang ginawa ko dito for this situation ay factor. Pina-factor ko yung numbers para hindi ako mahirapan. So yan, I factored everything out by 4. And then I cross this out. Then I apply the LCD of a plus 6 and a minus 2. So ito yun. And then when I'm on the left side, I cross it out by a minus 6. Then everything is just the same. Then I just apply the literal math. Now to check if a were if a were 7, 8 times 7 is 56, minus 16 is 50, 40. 7 plus 6 is 13. And then on the other side, on the right hand, 7 squared is 49 times 4, 196. 16 times 7 is 112 minus 48 equals, 112 minus 48 equals 196 plus 112. 308 minus 48 equals 260. So it becomes 260 na dito. So yan, it becomes something like this. And then we apply the LCD. So 260. What two number? 260. So multiply by 20. It checks out. Correct. If I were to use negative 3 naman, 8 times negative 3 becomes negative 24. Minus negative 60, minus 16, negative 40. And that becomes positive 3. Then if I were to do this, 9, 36, negative 48, that becomes negative 96. 36 minus 96 is negative 60. Dividing both sides, cross out the 0. 80 divided by 6, that's the same as simplifying the lowest terms. 80 divided by 6, so yan. So tama, we should get the same answer din. If I were to get the LCD, multiply both sides by 20. And yeah, kaya that's the answer. That's number 26. Now let's go to item number 7. For item number 7, this can be a bit tricky, but good news, it's still easy for you to solve. This one, you will see a bunch of fractions, which makes the game a lot more harder. However, don't let your guard down because this may still be easy for you to solve. So we have 1/4 over 8 over 10 plus m is equivalent to 10/12 all divided by 2/3. For this situation, you can solve this item in many different ways. Let me show you my solution so that you can see how I did it. So, ang ginawa ko dito, we have this equation. 1/4, can you see what I'm doing? 1/4 plus 8, 10 plus m is equivalent to 10, 12 over 2/3. So, what did I do here? Ito yung ginawa ko. I just divide the two fractions together. Para hindi ako mahirapan, I just simply divide the two fractions para hindi ako mahirapan dito sa complex fraction ito. So, we have here 10, 12 minus divide by 2/3. Or you can apply reciprocal and the 3/12 becomes 1 over 4. And 10 over 2 becomes 5. So 5 over 4. Diba? But what I did was this. 10 times 3 equals 30. 12 times 2 is 24. Divide both sides so we get 5/4. And this is the answer that I come up with. 1/4 all divided by 8 over 10 plus m is equivalent to 5/4. So ang ginawa ko dito, this is how I did it. You can also put 5 on the numerator and 4 on the denominator. So I think what I kindly did during that time, ang ginawa ko ay ganito yun. So I just multiply 4 and 1/4. They cancel out, which just leaves you to 1. And then 5 times 8m plus 10 equals this 1. So yan, di ba 4 times 4, 4 times 1/4 is just 1. Cancel out. So goodbye na yan, automatic, di ba? Yun yung ginawa ko sa left side. On the other hand, I have 5 times 8 over 10. The 5 and 8 over 10, I just distribute. 5 times 8 over 10 becomes 40 over, 40 over 10. Which gives me, So yan, I distribute. So 5 and 10 cancel. This becomes 8 over 2, then 5m. So I'm just left with something like this. Yan, and that's equivalent to, Yan, I also have to multiply by the numerator. So that's why 5 times 8 equals 40. And then, diba, 5 times 8 equals 40. 5 times 8 equals 40, and 5 times 10 is just 5m. Diba? So 1 is equivalent to 4 plus 5m. Ganito kasi yun. Diba, remember I have, 5, 8 over 10 plus m. Diba? Distribute the 5. This becomes 5 times 8, which becomes 40 over 10. So tama, that becomes 4. Diba? Or I can just simplify 4 over 10, which gives me 5. So I just simplified this to lowest terms. 4/5, the 5's cancel, so 5m. So tama, that's exactly what I did. Then I just apply the math. 5m plus 4 equals 1. Subtract 4 to both sides, and we should get -3. Then divide both sides by -5 by 5 is equivalent, m is equivalent to -3/5. So that's one answer. Okay? That's one way how you can solve this. Pero, if I were to try it the other way, like I can do cross multiplication, pwede pa rin. There are lots of other ways on how you can do this, but it's up to you to judge the problem. So 2/3 times 1/4 is this. Ganito kasi yun. 2/3 times 1/4 is equivalent to 12, 2/12. 2/12 or 1/6. So that's what's going to happen on the left side. On the other hand, on the right side, we have 10/12. That's the same as 5/6. So we multiply these terms by 5/6. So yan. 5/6m. So yan, we multiply this one. Take note, we are going to distribute the 5/6 to all the factors here. So the 5's here cancel, and we're just left with 4 over 6. So ganito kasi yun. 1/6 is equivalent to 4 over 6 plus 5 over 6m. Take note the m's on the numerator. So therefore, it's going to be 1 is equivalent to 4 plus 5m. Diba? All over 6. But take note the 6 cancel because all the denominators are exactly the same. So that's another way in how you can solve for the answer. Easy peasy. Although you might get a bit baffled when it comes to fractions, but for sake of people who have knowledge when it comes to fractions and they don't get baffled with those numbers and with those signs and symbols, they can muster it. Next, let's go to number 8. For number 8, the problem is a bit tricky. We have -8 all divided by 3c minus 10 plus 2 plus c. Okay, before that, let me check the solution. So to show you what I did, ito yun. So diba remember, our answer was supposed to be -3/5. So ang ginawa ko dito ay ganito. So we have 8 over 10 plus -3/5. So I try to divide the two fractions together. So all we have to do is this one. 8 plus -3, that becomes, ano yun? 6 over 10 becomes -2/10. And then when we divide this together, we should get 1/4 divided by 2/10, which is 10 over 8 or 5 over 4. On the other hand, we have 10 over 12. We still get 5 over 4. That's still the right answer. Now let's go to number 8. For number 8, we have here -8, 3c divided by 3c minus 10 plus 2 plus c all divided by -c equals 0. Now, how do we find the LCD? This one, you can't even do anything but rather just apply for the LCD. To find the LCD, you know already what to do here, diba? What's the formula on how to find for the LCD? Just multiply the two numbers. Just find the LCD. What can you factor out here? And we know we were to find the LCD out of those two numbers, 3c minus 10 and -c. We know that we can't factor out the 3c minus 10 because they don't factor out by the GCF in order for you to get -c. At saka ang labo talaga. So therefore, you got no choice but to just multiply everything in order for you to find the LCD. So ganito kasi yung criteria namin. So the LCD is 3c minus 10. That is the LCD. Now doing it so, we have this one. Ganito kasi po yung mangyayari. Look at this. We have 3c plus 10 times -c. Diba? And then this is -8. Diba? 3c minus 10. Is there a match? Yes, this one. So this cancels. On the other hand, we have 2 plus c over -c. This can be multiplied by -c and 3c plus 10. The -c's cancel out. And if we're just left with 0, that's just 0. So nothing affects to it. So automatically implied na yan. Now we apply the math. -8 times c equals 8c. And then on this side we have 2c. 2 plus c equals 3c plus 10 equals 0. So now we apply the math. So this becomes 2 times 3c, 2 times 3c, or we can do c plus 2, and then 3c plus 10. Or we can set the variable to its lowest denominator. So that becomes, this one becomes 3c squared, this becomes 60, 6c, 10c, and 20. So yan. And then everything's added by 8c. Now all we have to do is to combine like terms. We have this. 10 plus 6 is 8, so that's supposed to be 24. So 3c squared plus 24 plus 20 equals 0. Wait a sec, is that the right solution? Let's check. So diba remember ito yung LCD namin? So we have 3c minus 10. This is the LCD, diba? So we cross out the 3c's and then we got something like this. So tama, that's supposed to be minus 10 pala yun. Sorry guys just like what I said, be very careful with your operation. I know that's supposed to be minus c, not plus. So dapat minus yun. Minus, tapos this one is minus. So ganito kasi yun. So 3c and then negative 10. So dapat this is supposed to be negative 10c. So that becomes 14. (6c) negative 10, so that's negative 20. So dapat supposed to be 6c, 3c squared, tapos yung 8 plus 6 is 14. Minus 10 is negative 4c. Diba? And negative 10, negative 20 equals, all equals 0. Tama. Tama ba guys? Tama ba? I think it's not the right answer. I have to double check on my solution. So, diba remember ito yung solution sheet namin, diba? So, ito pa lang solution sheet. Ang ginawa ko ay ganito. 2c, and then this one, I multiplied this by 8. Yung naka-highlight ng red, that's the answer. So, negative c times negative 8 gives me positive 8. And then 3c times c, that becomes 3c squared, the one I got here. Tapos, 3c times 2, that's supposed to be 6, the one I got here. Tapos negative 10 times c, that's supposed to be negative 10c. Negative 10c dapat to. And then negative 10 times 2 becomes negative 20. So yan. Now we have to combine like terms. So when I combine like terms, 8 plus 6 equals 14. Minus 10 is equivalent to negative 4c. So tama, that's supposed to be the right answer. We're supposed to get negative 4c. So 3c squared minus 4c minus 20 equals 0. Then, this is already what you're gonna do. You're gonna apply the quadratic formula. So ganito kasi yun. Since we know that our a is not equivalent to 1, therefore we need to do the box formula. We multiply the two terms together. 3 and negative 20 to give you negative 60. And then that add to give you negative 4. I feel that (6 and 10 are combinable. 6 and 10 to give you negative 60, and then that add to give you negative 4. So when you put this into our parentheses, we have a, and then we break this out into factors. Diba? So we have c and c. C na lang. C, c. And then 6 and 10. Did you know you can break down that down into factor? Like you can do 5 plus 2. Or you can do 2 times 3. So tama. 2, 3, and 2. So therefore, a is equivalent to, c is equivalent to negative 2, and then 3a plus 10. Because since we know that it's supposed to be, the larger number is negative 4. So yan. So to double check, a times 3a is 3a. 3a squared. We know we're supposed to get 3a. Diba? And the negative 2 times 3a becomes negative 6a. 6c. 10 times c, positive. So that's positive, tama. We combine like terms and negative 20. And now we solve. It's either we get 3a plus 10 or 3c minus 10 or c minus 2. So ganito kasi yun. Here's how we did it. So what I did muna was this. If c were negative 2, therefore it's supposed to be positive 2. If c were 3, 3c minus 10, dapat c must be 10 over 3. Then we double check to see if that's the right answer. Of course, if we were to do this, diba remember 10 over 3? Of course, this one, that will make the solution extraneous. You know why? Because if you have 10/3, remember the rule there is you cannot set your denominator equivalent to 0. Because if your denominator is equivalent to 0, that'll make the solution undefined. So therefore, having 10/3 is not a solution. While having 2 is technically a solution. So 2 plus 2, so if we do that, that becomes 6. 6 minus 10 equals negative 4. Diba? Negative 8 minus negative 4. Yan, that becomes, ano yun, 2. And then, 2 plus 2 divided by 2 is still 2. So tama, that checks out. That's the correct answer. Next, we have, and this one is number 29. This problem might be a bit tough. We have n squared, all divided by n plus 8, and then minus 25 is equivalent to divide by n plus 8. And then we have equals negative 2n divided by n plus 8 once again. And then we have n minus 15 plus n plus 8. This one's a bit tricky. This one is very easy to solve. Since the denominators are alike, we don't need to apply LCD anymore. All we just have to do is to work out on the math. So, mabilis lang yun. So, diba remember we have n squared minus 25 is equivalent to negative 2n. Copy the sign. N minus 15. Diba? All the n plus 8 cancel. So now all we have to do is to distribute. So we distribute and we are supposed to do something like this. First, let's distribute the negative. So you have n squared minus 25 is equivalent to negative 2n. This becomes negative n. This becomes positive 15. Now let's combine like terms. First, we need to bring the 15 to the other side. And that becomes negative 40. So negative n squared minus 25 minus 15 is equivalent to negative 2n plus n. That's supposed to be negative 3n. So combining like terms, we're supposed to get negative 40 and that becomes negative 3n. Tama? Can you see what I'm doing? Negative 3n. Then we have to bring this to the other side. So n squared plus 3n minus 40 equals 0. Hey, we're back to quadratics again. So if we're back to quadratics, all we have to do is to do this. You know already this, right? And then what two numbers that multiply together that give you negative 40, then at the same time give you positive 3? We know that's 8 and 5. So 8 is higher and 5 is lower. Diba? So therefore, n can be negative 8 and n can be positive 5. But hang on, look back at our equation. Remember n plus 8 and n plus 8? That can't be negative 8. Because if the solution were negative 8, that'll make the solution so undefined. Automatic na yan. And it's already implied. So therefore, hindi pwede ang negative 8. So let's try negative 5. Kung naging negative 5 yan, ganito yung solution. Check. Negative 5 squared, that's 25. 3 minus 25 over 3, that's correct. And then negative 2 times negative 5, doing the math, that's all 3. And 10 minus 10 is 0. So correct. That's the right answer.